Hello, class. My name is Jessica. I am going to be responding to Evelyn Ramirez's claim that education should be free for students, for college students that are attending. Her secondary claims that she made were there are families who don't have funding for their college education. Her second claim was that colleges could concentrate on more resourceful things and businesses could increase. And her third claim was equality. So I have 3 responses to each one of the claims that she made. The first one, that she said that there are families who don't have the funding for their college education. There are families that do have funding for their college education. Either way, there's nothing really to argue there with that situation, but let me give you a little bit of information. The number one reason that students drop out of college is lack of time. Most students become overwhelmed by the stress of having to work and attend school at the same time, according to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and that was in 2016. Based on the latest college completion trends, only about half the students of 6-year colleges will leave college with a diploma. So that's like 54.8%. And that's in response to her saying that there's only 30% of students who attended college have graduated. I don't know where she received or how she received that statistics, but when I followed up with it, I came up with a different result. So, and then she says that students would not have to make a loan from the bank. Well, they don't have to take a loan from the bank. There's other options that are available. And with banks, they actually have a higher interest rate. Student loans can come from the federal government or from private sources, such as a bank. The federal government actually has offers lower interest rates, and it has more flexible repayment options than loans from banks or other private sources. And then she said that businesses and companies want the best and the smartest, and that's true. So the more people with the same degree, it's going to reduce the value of the degree itself. And the job market is more competitive now, and we need to set ourselves apart from others, and this will only, downplay the persistence among college students. It will decrease the persistence that we have. The second claim was that there are many programs she said colleges could concentrate on more resourceful things and businesses could increase. With that, she also stated that programs could be made to even see those who are eligible for having a free education. Well, there are all those programs. We have Pell Grants, we have scholarships. You just have to be resourceful. And American taxpayers spend more than $10 billion a year on federal Pell Grants to help more than 2.7 million low and moderate income students attending these institutions to afford post-secondary education. And so just with that being said, there's grants, there's work study jobs, there's the scholarships. So there have been programs that have been made available to us and to help with that. And also another thing is that public education is primarily funded by property tax. So if taxes go up for property owners, whether they have children in college or not, eventually, they're going to have to pay for free college. So eventually when you get out of work, when you get out of college, you're going to have to pay those taxes back. So there's no such thing as free education, all in all. And so that's my second response. And her third claim was that she said equality, and that was just her claim. And I said, well, there is an equal opportunity for men and women to attend college. The military actually pays for free education, and that is an equal opportunity for young adults who are seeking free college. The students who are willing to serve the country are gifted with the free college tuition. The Montgomery GI Bill is actually designed to help you pay for your college education, and depending on how long you enlist in the Army or the military and the job you choose, you can get over $50,000 to help you pay for college. according to, I looked that up, it was like a military, where is it? It says the military helps you pay for college. It's a school guide that you can find online, and you can basically get that for paying like $100 a month during your first year of service. So basically, in conclusion, free college is something that's non-existent. At the end of the day, we're gonna have to pay for it when you graduate, and it will only cause more harm than help. And thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, well, the advocate's claim was very clearly labeled, and you laid out what the secondary claims were that you're going to be responding to as well. You got to the first issue where you basically are conceding, look, some people have money, some people don't have money. That I'm not sure is really where the controversy is on this particular subject. The controversy is whether or not people without money have means to get into college and pay for it in some way, shape, or form. And you do talk about that at different points. But it seems strange that you kind of are just conceding this point early on in this direction. I think the argument that you follow up on says that the number one reason for people dropping out is they have a lack of time because they have to work. I think you need to demonstrate, for instance, that even if college were free, so to speak, that there would still be other barriers that are creating this problem. If you had to work to pay for college, for instance, then I would see why there is a conflict here. The advocate is suggesting if college were free that people wouldn't have to worry about having to work as much. Maybe they wouldn't have those conflicts. I think that's the general argument that they're making. What you need to do is you need to show, look, there are lots of financial burdens that people have for taking care of themselves. College is merely one of them, and that these other things aren't going to disappear simply because college is taken off of the table there. I'm not sure what the value is of arguing over whether or not there's 30% graduation or getting degrees versus 54%. I do think what you want to be arguing is that there are lots of reasons that people leave college that have nothing to do with financial issues because they couldn't pay for college, but have to do with other things, opportunities, changes in lifestyle, those sorts of things. Also, I think there's probably plenty of information to suggest that people sometimes fail at college, that there are things that they're not adequately prepared for. They don't have the skills that are necessary to get them through. Look, if you didn't take a lot of math classes when you were in elementary school and high school, suddenly deciding to become an engineer is going to be a problem for you when you get to college. You say, I'm going to fix that by taking all this, but you're underprepared. You've got to spend 4 years catching up on math work before you get to your stuff. People get discouraged about those kinds of things, or they discover maybe I'm not as good at that as I thought I should be, or I need to be. So I think that you've got the right idea here, but you're not expressing it as completely as you need to make the convincing argument here. Then there's this kind of interesting argument that you have that suggests that if we have more degrees, first, before you got to that, you made the argument that says, look, there are other ways of getting loans, and I know that it's true. I think everybody else knows that it's true that there are federal loans, that the interest rates are lower. It would probably not be a bad idea to cite some of that information, and it wouldn't be hard to find that there is, in fact, a lot of money being lent to students under federal programs that they pay. They got flexible ways of paying it back. A piece of evidence on that wouldn't hurt you there. Then you've got this, like I said, interesting argument that suggests that if we give more degrees, it's going to decrease the value of those degrees, and somehow that's going to have a negative effect on their persistence. Well, I think persistence is an issue, but like I said, I thought it was an issue on that other argument that you were talking about. Why do people fail or not succeed in college, their lack of persistence, is it because of the financial issues, or is it, for instance, that they see the future is less successful for them because they have a degree that's now worth less? That's a big assertion that you're making on that point. On the next point, your kind of argument seems to be that ultimately people are going to be paying for this, and I think that's probably true. The public pays for this. Here's a place where you might want to put in some information. You say, just as an example, how much does the state of California spend on higher education each year that isn't subsidized by tuition and fees like that sort of thing, but does the state's they're spending billions of dollars every year to support colleges and universities in the state. And that's before any tuition has to be considered. So the notion that there isn't some kind of support for people to have access to these resources seems to ignore that we're already spending a lot of money. And then I thought you did have one particular piece of information about the Pell Grants there that illustrates, look, we also spend $10 billion a year trying to get these folks into college as well. So it's not as if there isn't assistance available there. There isn't a system that's in place. The advocate simply seems to be saying more is the answer, and there's a legitimate question to say, well, how much more is necessary that's going to fix these problems, and is there any demonstration that that is the case? And I think that there's maybe an argument missing here that talks about whether or not access because of financial issues results in success. I think that probably would have been a good response on this particular point. And the equity issue, it's okay. I mean, it comes down to the same sort of point that you're making here that says there are other ways to fund this, and the military thing. If this is a policy argument, there's a potential disadvantage here. Because if college, for instance, is free, and that's one of the main reasons that people join the military is to get access to college, well, now they don't have a reason to join the military. We're going to have a less prepared military as a consequence. So, like if we were doing a policy debate on that, that would probably be a disadvantage. And what's the harm of having an underprepared military? We're not able to respond X, Y, and Z. I don't know that that's an appropriate argument for this issue. But since you brought it up, it would be something to think about if we were having that as a debate. All right, thank you.